Welcome to Influential Entrepreneurs, bringing you interviews with elite business leaders and experts, sharing tips and strategies for elevating your business to the next level. Here's your host, Mike Saunders.
Hello and welcome to this episode of Influential Entrepreneurs. This is Mike Saunders, the Authority Positioning Coach. Today we have with us Roger Hall, who is a business psychologist and author of Staying Happy, Being Productive, the Big 10 Things Successful People Do. Roger, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Mike. I'm grateful to be here.
Hey, so I'm excited to talk to you about what your focus is. I love business psychologist because, boy, you don't often hear those two words put together in combination. So I'm excited to talk with you. Give us a little bit of your background and then what led you into this field. And then we'll talk about your book and your different programs that you serve your clients with.
Yeah. I think the honest answer is I got into this profession by a series of bad career decisions. I went and got my PhD in 1991 and started out as a clinician and found out very quickly that while I was good at it, it wasn't very good for me. So I started casting around and talking to other people who were in the performance psychology business. In sports psychologists, there's some people in the military, and then there's a subset called consulting psychologists who help business professionals reach their peak performance. And so redeveloped myself and have been happily ensconced in this part of the psychology business.
Yeah, I think, once it's like they say, once you find, what you are passionate about and love doing, then you don't really have a job, or, you know that you found the right niche or specialty when you look up after working for a chunk of time throughout the day and you go, oh, did I eat today yet? So that sounds like what you have identified there. That's really awesome. Give us a little bit of background on what your focus is. I know that you focus on really specifically, that happiness factor and the antithesis of, fear and worry. And that's something that a lot of entrepreneurs really deal with, right?
Yeah. I was doing, and I still do, a great deal of stress management stuff. People, would hire me in to teach their teams about stress management, which always seemed like a defensive strategy. And so I started thinking, okay, what's the offensive strategy? What are the things that happy people do? And there's a quote at the beginning of the book Anna Karenina by Leo Tolstoy, and it says, "Happy families are all alike. Every unhappy family is unhappy in their own way." And it crystallizes that just the avoidance of fear, just the avoidance of stress is not the same thing as being happy. And so I started looking at my clients who I really thought were successful. And money is part of that, but it's certainly not the most important part of it. They were people who were really living kind of full throttle, on fire lives, active and proactive. And I started watching the things that they paid attention to and the things that they did. And so I started writing them down, and I kept adding to the list. And at some point I said, I got to stop. So I stopped at 10. And I found that these successful people, they all kind of do the same things. One of the qualities of their lives is that their personal lives are pretty boring, fairly drama-free, and that enables them to have adventures. So it's not that their lives are boring, but they're very stable. So that's what I wrote the book on. So two halves, two sides of the same coin: the offense and the defense. How do you eliminate fear, worry, anxiety? And the other side is, what are the tactics that people do to become happy?
Yeah, it's like, what do you have to become in order to avoid, right, fill in the blank? So I like that juxtaposition because it's not just, achieving that goal, it's who you become in the process of getting to that destination.
Absolutely. I look at people who are happy, and they do some very simple things. They discipline their thinking. That to me is one of the most important skills that happy, successful people have, is that they've learned to monitor and manage their thinking. They understand the delay of gratification. That's a key mental foundation. And then, if you look at the other 9 things, so the first is thought life. The second is that they have an active spiritual life. And, you wonder why you put that in a book, but it seems that over and over again, these people have an active faith life, and it's an important part of their life. And the two authors who are authors in the area of positive psychology who are not people of faith say, boy, I've got to work on those other areas of my life because that's such an important part. These are people who exercise regularly, so their exercise life is tip top. They work very hard on determining what's the nutrition that they have. So they focus on what's the fuel that I'm putting in my system. A lot of people talk about health life, but I don't have any control over getting hit by a bus, but I do have control over how much I move and what I put into my system. Happy people, they focus on their love life, the primary relationships they have with the people in their immediate family, not just their spouse or partner, but the people that are close to them. They're members of their immediate family. They have friends. When I work with entrepreneurs and business owners, that's one of the biggest problems that they have, is that they're really good in a lot of areas in their life, but that spoke on the wheel is broken, and they just don't have friends. The next is they love their work, and you're really preaching my sermon when you talk about me being able to enjoy my work, and the people who have really happy, successful lives, every day or nearly every day, they experience a state of flow, which is where they lose the sense, as you talked in the intro, where they lose a sense of time in what they're doing. So they love their work. They figured out their money life. They figured out so that they don't have that much in the way of personal debt or no personal debt. And they have figured out that tons and tons of money doesn't make them happy. If you look at the relationship between money and happiness, being out of money will make you miserable. So money can't make you happy, but lack of money will certainly make you miserable. But then there's the other end where I see that there are people who have too much money problems. And so they stop knowing who their friends are because everybody's around them with their hand out.
Sure.
So they've got that balance there. And then the last two are sleep and rest life, that people have figured out, boy, I really do need 8 hours of sleep, and I do need to rest every week. And then the last one is recreational life. And I find this maybe not in your area of the country, but in some areas of the country, people just don't know how to have fun. They've kind of they spend so much time working that they've stopped having fun. And fun is an important part of life. So those are the big 10.
Yeah, I love it. And that last one, of course, is just the most recent one. It just made me think of something, which is the fun, and you need to have balance. And even though you might be that hard driving entrepreneur that needs to run the company and grow revenues, you need to take that break, because I would venture to say that every top performing CEO, entrepreneur, business owner would agree with this. At the end of every day, there's way more that you could be doing. You could keep on plowing along. You could work 18, 19, 21 hours a day, but you need to take that break. And I have personally found that, it sounds cliche to say this, but I've just seen it over and over. When I get up to the mountains of Colorado where I'm at, and I take, a few days off, and I'm out with the family riding our mountain bikes or ATV or hiking or relaxing, sometimes a day or two of that, you needed to wind down. And then here comes day 2 or 3, and it's like, pop, 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 pop. Here's these great ideas that I'm writing them down, because you're getting out of that grind and you're not so in that state of tension.
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. One of the biggest things that I try to encourage, the people I work with is to take that time for quiet reflection, to get away, to go have fun, to turn off all of your devices. And you're absolutely right. When we quiet our brains, then the creativity starts again. And I'm kind of a neuro nerd, and it's called the default mode network. And it's where our brain goes when our mind wanders. And when we're amped up, our mind goes to worry. But when we quiet our minds and we've had some fun and had some rest, that's when the creativity comes.
And you need both. It's kind of like if you like I live in Colorado where we have 4 seasons. Well, you really appreciate spring after a really cold winter. But if just my opinion, I know that people live in parts of the country where it's like all one temperature all the time. Me personally, I would kind of get bored with that. So you need to have that balance, and I think that having those times of you need to grind and go for it, but then you need that time of balance. And I'm probably going to mispronounce it, but you'll probably know what I'm talking about. But the Pomodoro effect or Pomodoro effect, where you need to work for like 20-30 minutes, and then take a 5 or 10 minute break, and then work again, because you will. Literally, probably research has proven that you will burn yourself out if you just keep the pedal to the metal.
Yeah, I mean, human beings are not really built for constant doing one thing over and over again. Our bodies aren't. We get what are called repetitive strain injuries, and our brains aren't either. And so variety is kind of how the human brain works. And, of course, there are differences in all of us. Some of us like more variety than others, but all of us need a change of pace.
It's funny when you said human beings, it reminded me of a funny little play on words that I've heard. I know you've heard it as well, but we are human beings, and we should be more of a human being rather than the human doing. We tend to be more human doings and like go, but we need to have that time where we're just more like human beings, and that will help then smooth out those peaks and valleys.
Absolutely. And quiet reflection. You can call it what you want. You can call it contemplation, meditation, mindfulness, pondering. I don't really care what you call it, but each of us needs that time of quiet contemplation. Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about your new course called the Freakout Course. That sounds quite intriguing. Tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah, thanks for asking, Mike. In this last year, I have spent almost all of my time trying to screw people's heads back on because people are absolutely freaking out. And I thought, well, let's see if I can bring all of the stuff that I've learned over all of my career together in one place. And so I've created an online course called Freak Out, Fear Less, Live More. And I've tried to distill down what it is that human beings are afraid of, how we can get over those fears, and at the end we talk about what drives out fear. My favorite quote is that one of my favorite quotes is, "Courage is not the absence of fear, but the decision that there's something more important than fear." And so we end with this: what is that one thing that's more important than fear that allows you to live courageously? And so the people who are really happy, it's not that they don't have fears, it's that they're fearing the right things in the right amounts. And there are lots of motivational speakers who will tell you to live beyond fear. But what we know about fear is the most life-preserving of all of our emotions. And people who don't have fear tend to get themselves in trouble and make worse decisions. There's a rare inherited disorder where people don't experience fear. Do you ever wonder why it's a rare inherited disorder? Because people don't live long enough.
Oh my, yeah.
I mean, fear acts as the emotional guardrail that keeps us from doing stupid stuff. I mean, there you are in Colorado. What kind of cars are on the sides of the roads and the ditches?
In a snowstorm, you mean?
Yeah, in my experience, it's usually a four-wheel drive because people are not fearful enough that they'll go off the road. They get overconfident and they wind up in a ditch. You know, that guy driving the two-wheel drive Hyundai Elantra is terrified, and so he or she drives slowly and makes it home. But the person with the jacked up four-wheel drive spins out because they don't have enough fear.
Well, and I will also even add to that and say it's even the people that have done a certain thing. My son he likes woodworking. So we were talking the other day about, table saws and safety and things. And it's the people that have been doing woodworking for 2-3 decades that have an accident because they just mindlessly just go about it and they're just not taking. But when you are careful and you are focused and you are making sure that all of the things and the safety precautions are in place. So I think that even in any type of business, if we're thinking of business, if you're looking at, customer relations or internal employee relations, you can take a lot of things for granted and then just go, been there, done that. Let's just do this and go. But you're going to overlook some opportunities to make that impact because it's just so common for you. You just need to figure out a way to make it fresh and impactful.
Yeah, part of the struggle for all of us when we're trying to be excellent is how do we keep it top of mind, and how do we set up reminders to make sure that we're paying attention to the most important things. So I'm a big advocate that fear in the right doses and of the right things and at the right times is very helpful. What I find in working with my clients is many of them have worry, which is not fear, it's anticipatory fear, because fear is always present tense. Worry is always future tense. So if I see a rattlesnake, I'm going to either fight, flee, or freeze, all of which can be adaptive. But if I worry about what I'd do if I was around a rattlesnake, then there's nothing for me to do, and I just stew in the worry. And it creates all of the same bodily reactions that I would have if I saw the rattlesnake, but there's nothing to do. And so I don't burn off any of all that extra chemistry that gets built up.
Yeah. And like you said, there is some type of fear that is healthy and good. It's just not too much of it. And that
Correct.
You have to have an element of that fear of, what, if I don't do this business the right way and, get that account or learn how to follow up in sales, my business might go under or not thrive. And so you need to have that healthy level of fear to help self-motivate us, not the unhealthy fear that paralyzes us. That's a really big point that you make there. I agree.
Yeah, it's kind of like an upside down bowl that if you look on one end and you've got no fear, no arousal, you also have no performance. And then as you go up the side of the curve to the top of the bowl, you've got an optimal level of arousal or fear, and so you have an optimal level of performance. And what everybody's afraid of is that you go a little bit further and you go on the downward side of the bowl, and your fear is even higher and your performance goes down. And you choke.
Yep. And that then you're in a state that you're no good to anybody, including yourself.
Correct.
Love it. Well, let's wrap up here, Roger, with what's the best way that people can reach out, connect with you, pick up a copy of your book, check out the Freak Out course, and see if that might be of benefit to them. How can they connect with you?
Yeah, the easiest place to go is my website is drrogerhall.com, drrogerhall.com. You can find the book at stayinghappybeingproductive.com or on Amazon, and you can find out more about the course at freakoutcourse.com.
Excellent. Well, Roger, thank you so much for coming on today. It was really a pleasure talking with you.
Mike, I'm grateful to be here today. Thanks for having me, and I wish all of your listeners great success going forward.
Thank you.
You've been listening to Influential Entrepreneurs with Mike Saunders. To learn more about the resources mentioned on today's show or listen to past episodes, visit www.influentialentrepreneursradio.com.